Today we're going to talk about stories and why stories are important. Common ways that we hear stories today are from our friends, our teachers, our parents, our grandparents, and mainly the media. We experience stories with moving pictures and sound through media, such as television, movies, DVDs, and the internet. We find stories in books, at libraries, bookstores, in exhibits at museums and art galleries, and basically everywhere we look for information or for entertainment. We tell and listen to or watch stories all the time. Today, we're going to learn about some stories recorded on stone that have remained so important to people that they continue to be passed down from generation to generation. If one day, hundreds of years from now, your story could be shared with your ancestors or people you couldn't even imagine, what would your story be? Stories and storytelling are a very important part of our history, and especially of the history and the culture of First Nations people. Stories are told by respected elders who use them to explain, to teach, and to entertain. The stories told by First Nations people to explain or to teach rarely change over time. This was important because First Nations people learned the history of their people by listening to stories. To change a story would be to change history because storytelling was the main way in which knowledge was handed down from one generation to the next. First Nations people who lived in Alberta 200 years ago or more had no written language, no libraries, no TV, internet, or recorded music, but they did like to tell and to hear stories. They also liked to make art and to tell stories through their art. Some of their art was about things one person had seen or important things which that person had done. Some of the art showed important events that all the people of a clan or tribe experienced. Their art depicted history, stories telling of important events, and much of it is thought to have spiritual meaning. In southern Alberta, along the Milk River, in a landscape of deep canyons and spectacular rock formations, there is a powerful, sacred place where people have recorded their stories using art for hundreds and perhaps even thousands of years. In 1957, writing on stone became a provincial park, and since then, both the art and the landscape have been protected. Now people from all over the world can travel there to experience the art and the stories for themselves. At Writing on Stone Provincial Park, we have come to understand that some of the images preserved in the park were important in the spiritual life of the people. The art was an important way of communicating with the spirits. It was also a way for people to share their stories with the generations to follow them. First Nations people went to the rocks to think, to contact the spirits, and to make art. Blackfoot people who lived near Writing on Stone believed that much of the rock art was made by the spirits and left there so that people could read these messages from the spirit world. The thousands of figures left there over many hundreds of years weaves a tapestry rich with the events that were important in the lives of the people and in the history of their clans or tribes. The art also tells us about some of the many important changes in the lives of the people and their culture over thousands of years of living in the area. That makes the art at Writing on Stone very important. It also makes it very interesting, since the stories expressed in the art are both exciting and a little mysterious. Writing on Stone Provincial Park is one of 75 provincial parks in Alberta. Many of our parks were created to preserve the natural landscape and environmental diversity of Alberta. They are important in preserving Alberta's natural heritage and to inspire people to enjoy and rediscover their connection with the natural world. But importantly, some parks were also created to preserve other significant things. At Writing on Stone, the park protects both a dramatic natural landscape and an important part of the cultural heritage of the people that lived in the landscape. Writing on Stone contains one of the largest numbers of First Nations rock art in all of Western North America. One of the main reasons people visit the park is to see these artworks and learn some of the stories behind them. Some of the art consists of images carved right into the rock. These are called petroglyphs. About 90% of all the rock art at Writing on Stone consists of petroglyphs. Petroglyphs have been made by many different groups of people and have been found in all parts of the world except Antarctica. In Canada, petroglyphs are found in many provinces and can tell us a lot about many different groups of First Nations people. In Alberta, the petroglyphs we find provide clues to the way First Nations people lived in this landscape hundreds and perhaps thousands of years ago. For this reason, petroglyphs are very important to everyone interested in understanding the cultural heritage of Alberta's First Nations people. Petroglyphs at Writing on Stone include images of human figures, animals, weapons, teepees, and some images of things we cannot identify. Some of the rock art depicts real stories or events such as hunts, raids, and battles. Hunting buffalo was an important activity for people living on the plains, and images of people hunting can be seen at Writing on Stone.
Hi, my name is Sylvie Leblanc. I'm an archaeologist, and today we'll be talking about petroglyphs. And here's an example of a petroglyph that was found at Writing on Stone Provincial Park. Aboriginal people were using several methods and different tools to do their carving. They could use a fragment of bones, hard bones, a piece of antler, or also hard rocks. For example, this bone fragment could have been used to carve, engrave the shield of this figure. And here, if you look at the bottom here, we have the character standing. So we have a rectangular body here. You can see the two parallel lines. And we have the arms here sticking there with the pointy shoulders. And then we have the head here. And here we have a warrior. So here in the front you see the big shield and you see the little legs sticking out and the head of the character, and he's wearing a big decorated headdress, and you can see the arms here, and he's holding a weapon in his arms.
Gaining honor in battle by defeating an enemy was an important event in the life of a warrior. This glyph records the victory of one warrior over another. The larger shield-bearing warrior is believed to be that of the victor. The smaller warrior is the loser of the battle. The glyph shows the warrior on the left holding a fringed spear directly at the head of the warrior on the right. The warrior on the right is holding a smaller weapon.